Hey Oak Trace, it's Mr. Feckety, sharing just some memories from the first year we were open here at Oak Trace. One's kind of a fun memory and one's kind of a funny memory for others. So the first memory I kind of share and think about is how small we kind of were. At that time, I think we maybe had at the max 3 teachers per grade level. I'm pretty sure most of them were 2. And because of that, I was able to remember every student's name that year. Now, with having so many students here, it's really hard for me to kind of remember all those names, so that's kind of a bummer part. But that's one thing I remember. And the other thing I remember is the first time I got to meet everyone here that was going to be on the staff. We were able to come before the building was actually open, like on I think it was a Thursday night. We came here. It was probably around 4:30, 5 o'clock. We got a tour of the building, got to meet some of the construction people. And then we decided we all go out and grab a quick little snack over at Don Pablo's. And so we were there for, I don't know, about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then all of a sudden people started leaving one by one. And I was still waiting there to kind of pay the bill for me. And then I look around and nobody's there but me. So I ended up having to pay everybody's bill because it took so long for the server to get there. So that's the one memory I remember that's kind of a funny memory for others. So everybody have a great school year, and happy to be part of Oak Trace family.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Grimmer, and my memory back in 2000 when the building was being built, I received the gym floor piece, a wooden piece from Mrs. Lynch. So I have had this all these years, 20 years, and I'll keep it forever.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Kroner, and I have been teaching in Westfield for quite a while. My very first year here, back in 2000, I had come from Shamrock Springs and I taught 3rd grade. And when I came to Oak Trace, I continued to teach 3rd grade. That year was a little bit tricky because in the middle of the year I had my son Luke, so I was not here the whole year, but was here in the fall and then into the spring. But what I remember most vividly is that I came from Shamrock Springs where we had 8 3rd grade teachers and came to Oak Trace and we only had 2 3rd grade teachers and only about 14 or 15 students in the classroom. And so that was just really a different experience for me. Another thing is I got to work with one of my very best friends from college, Mrs. Lynch. And so that made coming to Oak Trace very, very special. And I'm so blessed to have Mrs. Lynch in my life for so many years.
Hi guys, I'm Mrs. McAndrews and I have been a 4th grade teacher here since we started. And some of the things about the first year at Oak Trace that I remember fondly, one was we were so small at the time. There were only 2 4th grade classes. I had about 14 kids in my class and Mrs. Rader had about the same number in her class. And because most of those kids had come from Shamrock Springs, we did a lot of stuff with the Shamrock kids and we even went to Corydon with them. So we doubled up with them and that was really fun to watch, our school become its own school but still have ties to the other schools. I also got married that year. I started as Miss Smith and I finished the year as Mrs. McAndrews. And so that was a really fun time. It was a great first year and it's just gotten better ever since. We're so lucky to still be here and to still be under the leadership of Mrs. Lynch because she is what makes this school so great. So I'm super blessed to still be here.
Mr. Butts here. I remember when we first came to Oak Trace and the ceilings weren't in, there were just beams up there and we all walked around. I think we all had construction hats on as well, but we walked around Oak Trace when it was just first being built.
Hi, I am one of the old timers here at Oak Trace. I came to Oak Trace in the year 2000 when the building opened, and I probably have some funny memories that are blocked in this old mind of mine someplace, but I think the thing I remember that I was so excited about and thought was so top-notch was that when we opened, we had a workout room that was dedicated just to that in the school, which is now, I think, the OT-PT room, which was Mr. Gibbs' room last year. But that room was set up so that teachers could go down after school and work out, and there was exercise bikes and treadmills and things like that. And I also remember coming over when Oak Trace was being built to go on tours as the construction was happening with Mrs. Lynch, and it was very exciting. And also, I taught second grade for my first several years here at Oak Trace before moving into the library, and have some great memories of that. Although my first year, when we opened, we had such small numbers. I think I had 14 second graders in my class, and it was one of my trickiest years ever just because of those mix of kids, but definitely left an impression. So glad I've been here, and it's the best place to work.
Hi, I'm Marcy Durbin. I have been in the Westfield system for 48 years. Oak Trace was my third elementary, and I remember us all gathering in the library, and nobody knew how to say Mr. Butz's name, and we all wanted to call him Mr. Butts, but he quickly corrected us, and he is Mr. Butts. And I also remember that I only had 12 kids my first year here at Oak Trace. It was wonderful.
Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Lynch. I was asked to share some favorite memories from our first year at Oak Trace, which it's hard to believe is 20 years ago. We opened the doors of Oak Trace in August of 2000. So it has sure been 20 years of amazing ups and downs, learning, friendships, and I couldn't ask for a better group of people to do it with. That first year, I was hired in January and was able to help with some of the construction and the design at Oak Trace, which I knew nothing about at the time. So that in itself was a challenge and a lot of fun. But my office was at Shamrock Springs in their conference room. And so that was a fun memory because I got to know the awesome staff at Shamrock Springs, and I got to interview people in the conference room over there and meet families and kids who would start Oak Trace with me. So that was really fun. But I worked so hard to try to find such great people to start our new school with. And I remember looking for a speech language pathologist, and I'd interviewed a few people, and they just didn't really stand out to me. And I called Ball State University, and I know they have a great program, and I said, can you give me the names of some people who are just really awesome? And that's how I came to know Mr. Butts. I tracked him down in another job and asked him to apply, and he's been at Oak Trace ever since. I interviewed and hired some teachers like Mrs. Grimmer and Mrs. McAndrews, Mrs. Lane, Mrs. Durbin, Mrs. Croner. They were all teaching at Shamrock Springs, and so it was fun to have them move over. Mrs. Croner and I went to college together and are still great friends today, and so that's been fun. Mrs. Lane and I went to high school together, and Mrs. Durbin had my sister in school a long time ago in Westfield. So it's been fun to have them there. I tracked Mr. F down. He had done some family counseling and was helping out in a school in Carmel at the time. So I was able to have him come over. I also ended up pulling a teacher that I'd worked with when I was in Washington Township in Indianapolis, Mr. Waite. He's now retired, but he joined me. Mrs. Kennedy and Mrs. Kneifel were both teachers who had been with me in Lebanon, and they came in and got Oak Trace started with me. So those were all great memories. And over the years, it's been so fun to see many of us, most of us, in fact, have our own children go through Oak Trace and see marriages and pregnancies and new families, some sadness along the way too that we all helped each other with and through, and we've all been stronger for it and come even closer together. But it was fun the very first time we pulled all of those staff members that I'd been interviewing and offering jobs to individually. We all got to come together one afternoon and see the construction. So Mrs. Grimmer got to see her gym before it was even finished, and we were in the library and in classrooms, and it was really, really fun. And after that, we all went to Don Pablo. Don Pablo used to be over by Barnes & Noble, and visited and got to know one another. And I had to leave, and Mr. F got stuck with the bill. Now, side note, I did pay him back, but nothing like hiring your counselor at first and then sticking him with the bill. But we have just had so much fun, and I look forward to celebrating our 20 years of fun and learning at Oak Trace.